Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The GOAT. We are on episode, 21, Julie?
22.
22. Check us out.
I know. I can't believe it.
I can't either. That is so cool. And last week's episode was so fun with Tim Grenard,
Yeah,
the Hall of Famer.
Yes, he's such a genuine guy. He just seems like what you see, what you get. There's no pretenses with him, and just a nice guy too.
He is such an example of a GOAT. I mean, the challenges that he had to face and what he's overcome and the role model that he is now. I am just so amazed at the energy and effort that he was able to sustain for that long in the NFL and then change the whole Chiefs kingdom, basically.
Right. Yeah. He was what they said. He epitomized the Chief kingdom.
Yeah. He was the one that started like working with the audience and the outreach program. I thought that was so GOAT-like. I loved it.
He is. That's why he's the GOAT.
Well, one of the GOATs. But speaking of GOATs, hey, we got another GOAT tonight.
Well, we've got a couple of GOATs.
We got two GOATs tonight. Yes, I'm so excited to meet and to chat with and learn about their stories. But one of them is he's an
adaptive athlete.
Adaptive athlete, and his name is Zachery Friedley.
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 Friedley or Friedley, I don't know. We'll have
we're going to check that out and see here in a second. But I know that working in the prosthetic world, you kind of have a little background in that area. Tell me about that.
I do. This story gets a little bit close to home because the world of prosthetics was really all I knew growing up the first part of my life. My dad, he lost his leg when he was 10 years old on Christmas Eve, cutting down the Christmas tree. You know that. Did you lose me?
Well, you keep going in and out a little bit.
Are we locked up?
You're better now.
Am I back? Okay.
Keep going.
Well, I'll keep rolling. Keep going. Dad was an amputee. So from 10 years, and then he made being a prosthetist his life's work. He was a prosthetist almost until he died, but he had lots of small businesses. So I was always around it, worked in it. It was just part of our life. And my uncle was a prosthetist. My husband still is a prosthetist. He worked for the Hanger Clinic where Dad works. My cousin was, my cousin-in-law, and my brother. My brother was involved in the fabrication of it. So it just surrounded my life for the majority of my life, really up until recently. The only person still left in the industry is my husband.
Right. Wow.
So this world is very familiar to me. I worked also in the industry also. My first life, as I call it. I was not a prosthetist, but I was an orthotist. I worked with people needing braces, orthopedic type braces. So that's what I did. But they are kind of companion industries and are always together. So that's a little bit of my story.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to our guests and let's play the clip of Zack doing some running.
You want to introduce or clip, or how do you want to?
Clip first.
I'm going to try to turn down the volume.
Okay.
You ready?
You can go to know about rolling down in the deep when your brain goes. Run.
Short little clips. Here's one more. I got to show this one.
God, I love that.
I want to talk to him about this one. This is where he was climbing. I think he said it was a mile-long hill, and it took him about 5 minutes to an hour or something to climb that hill.
That is amazing. I love it. Let's bring him on.
Yeah. All right. We'll do, wait a minute. Before we do that, let's introduce a little bit on Matt too. Matt is the prosthetist that works with Zachery, and he helps make all of this possible for him. He is an area clinical manager at Hanger Clinic at KU Medical Center. He specializes in prosthetic trauma for both upper and lower extremity, and specializes in really high level type amputations, as well as just difficult cases. He works with patients all throughout the United States and the world. He's won the Hanger Clinical Excellence Award, their excellence in clinical outcomes, and excellence in innovation. He also has written a chapter in a book. And then he volunteers his time for an organization called Camp No Limits, which is, they have therapeutic camps for young people with limb loss and limb differences. So, as I said, he's a goat in his own right, a prosthetic goat.
Well,
so
I'm definitely going to get his autograph.
All right. Well, you ready to talk to him?
Let's pop him on.
All right. There's Matt. There's Zachery.
Zack,
What's up, guys?
how are you two doing?
I'm doing great.
I'm doing great too. It's a wonderful evening.
Welcome to the GOAT. Zack, did you see that clip of you?
I did.
Yeah, I stole it from him, so I think he's seen it.
Yeah, the one of me crawling brought back some pretty good memories.
Yeah.
I want to get to those, but I want to start with your journey as you were born without the limb, correct?
Yes, I was born missing my right leg above the knee, and then born with some webbed fingers and missing a few fingers on my right side as well.
Okay. So tell me now, start me on the journey of, when did you notice? When were you like, holy crap, I'm different than the other kids?
Well, my memory is about first or second grade. I had this conversation with my mom recently, like a week ago. She told me that at 4 years old, I started asking questions about it. But my first memory of my own is around first and second grade.
And what happened? What was it like? When did you, how did you realize?
Well, I was playing dodgeball with some kids in school, and you know how they pick teams? There's like team captains,
Right.
and they pick kids, and I got picked last, and I didn't really understand. And I asked, like, hey, why did I get picked last? And one of the kids just said, hey, man, it's because you got one leg and you suck. And I was just like, oh, wow. So I'm a little different. And I remember going home, and that was around the same time I started wrestling. And my dad just basically was like, no big deal. You're just going to have to work a little bit harder if you want to be at the same level. And if you don't want to work hard, that's fine too. So he basically kind of gave me a left and a right, and let me choose it.
Talk a little bit about how your dad set you up to succeed in that. I think you tell a pretty good story of the different milestones that he set for you to try to achieve, rather than just going out there and basing it strictly on winning and losing.
Yeah, so basically I was a little kid wrestling, and I took my leg off to wrestle. And my first year, I was getting beat pretty good, like every single match. And my dad basically told me not to get pinned. And if I didn't get pinned, that was like a win. So first year, I went all year and lost every single match, but I didn't get pinned. So I was, in my book, winning.
Yeah.
Second year, the second year, it was all right. Let's not get pinned and hold them to under 10 points. And then the third year, it was let's not get pinned. Let's score some of our own points. And I won like maybe 2 or 3 matches that year. And then it started to progress. Fourth year, I was winning like 50%. Then people started scouting me because I had my own style. And
right.
So yeah, he basically took a lot of pressure off. Didn't make it about winning or losing, just having micro goals.
Right.
And it kind of stuck with me still to this day.
Yeah. So did you see yourself as handicapped or disabled or all these things when you're competing in the mainstream high school, correct?
Yeah.
Did you see yourself in a different way? Like, I've got a disadvantage?
I knew I had a disadvantage, but back then it fueled me to just work relentlessly hard.
Yeah.
And grind it out to basically take the disadvantage and make it my advantage in certain ways, by my work ethic.
Yeah.
And like in wrestling, it was strength, so I was a little bit smaller, or I was a little bit bigger than the kids in my weight class because I was missing my leg. So
Right.
I got to use that to my advantage.
Exactly.
So I never really looked at it as like it was holding me back or anything, but I was definitely aware of the fact that I had to make up for things in
Yeah.
other areas.
Yeah. And is that kind of how you have approached life?
Yeah.
Because I mean, missing a limb is a big deal. You might not know that, Zach.
And here's the other thing, and this is something maybe that Matt can jump in on, is that he's missing his leg above the knee, which makes things a little bit more difficult because you're missing one more joint. So Matt, can you maybe share about what kind of difference that would mean for him to be above the knee as opposed to below the knee as an amputee, and the things that he was wanting to do?
Yeah, definitely. Losing your leg or being born without your leg above the knee is completely different than missing your leg below the knee. Both are difficult to deal with, but as soon as you lose that second joint, for a below the knee amputee, we're missing our ankle. So we're missing our calf muscle, that muscle that really propels you forward. But
Right.
now you move up above the knee, all of a sudden, Zack doesn't get to use his muscles in his leg, his quads, his hamstrings, the muscles that allow us to extend our leg and bend our leg. He has to use the muscles up at the hip. So
Right.
when he's running, he's using muscles that, we use those normally for running, but those are his main muscles that are propelling him forward. That takes a lot more energy than if the three of us were trying to run. I don't think any of the three of us really want to attempt to run against Zack. He would destroy us.
No.
I saw that, Matt. I saw that, Matt, in Zachery, in that little clip that I was watching of you. You have to kind of swing it out when you're going up and down terrain, and you're moving all that whole leg because you don't have that joint right there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, especially on trails.
yeah, that looks so intense. I'm like, I can see on a flat road. I can see getting into that and getting a rhythm, but on that, I'm just like, wow, that's strength.
Yeah. I'm glad you guys didn't find the video clip of actually the two of us racing each other and he destroyed me.
Oh,
and that was when I was about 10 years younger. So
yeah,
I'm glad that didn't show up.
That would have been a good one.
So after the high school wrestling, what happened then? Did you lose focus in sports, or did you stay focused in sports?
Well, I was about 20, getting beat up on by my little brother who was like 14. And so my wrestling days came to an end, and I continued to coach, but somehow found Paralympic track and found myself down at the Hanger, Oklahoma City office, the headquarters, and I got my first blade around 2007. And then kind of switched my focus to like sprinting and long jump stuff for several years.
So in 2007 was like a major change for you. Like, what was that like? You went from not being able to run, really, right?
I mean, I could run, but not with like a spring and not with like what you needed. So whenever I got my first blade, it was a game changer for me. My body started to move differently. It was awesome. I mean, I still remember it to this day, being in the Hanger office down there. There's a long hallway on the second level and just running up and down this hallway nonstop.
You're loving it.
Loving it.
This is like so new, so cool. I think that's awesome.
Whole new world.
For sure.
Yeah.
Kid in a candy store is pretty much the feeling, isn't it?
Definitely.
It really brings truth to that Lieutenant Dan and his new legs.
For sure.
It's like, wow, you got new magic legs. It's like, you did get a new magic leg. That is so cool. So then you started trying out the sprinting, trying out those things. And when did you realize, when did you get good? Because you're pretty good at this, aren't you?
I mean, I never really placed at any Paralympic level stuff, but I could, keep up with some of the best guys. My training was different back then. I was training to prove something. Maybe had a chip on my shoulder. Just kind of wanted to be the best. So I was grinding like super hard,
I was training to prove something. Say more about that.
Just like validation, like back then I wanted to be enough, and I thought the way to that was through sports. I latched on to that as a kid and carried it on through my adulthood. And, being in my early to mid 20s, I hadn't had the tools yet to kind of distinguish that I am enough. So I was latched on to that aspect that I guess I thought that if I won a Paralympic gold medal, then I would automatically, magically be enough. And so I learned, I never hit that goal. So I was on this like quest that never ended up happening.
Right. So how did you
get that script in your mind from competing to try to impress people, validate yourself, to now just running for you, not about winning?
I had to burn everything down. And I basically left Kansas City, going on like what you call like a vision quest or like a pilgrimage without knowing that's what I was doing,
Right.
I was pretty much depressed and lost. And I knew that if I stayed there, that I just had this gut feeling that I wouldn't be who I'm like meant to be. I know that might not make sense, but to me, it was what I had to do. So I left everything at 30. So I'm 36 now. And I went to the East Coast first and lived there for a year, or for a school year, and was a nanny to two girls who had just lost their mom. They were 7th grade and freshmen. So that gave me purpose in life. And at this time, I never thought I'd ever be running again, And then after the school year, I went to California and I worked on a farm up in Humboldt County, up in the mountains, and literally broke all my prosthetics to where the only thing I had left was a blade from my Paralympic days. And so at that time, I took a shoe and zip tied it to the blade because I needed traction. And I was up and down these mountains every day of the week working. And that was when my mind started to flip a little bit of like, this is what moving without purpose looks like, almost a survival. And I could do it really well. So that was the first, I didn't go there to run. It just kind of, I had to, I was forced into this survival. And that was the first stop,
And at that point, what did you find? Like, did you find yourself?
I found myself out in the middle of nowhere with none of the luxuries that I'd ever, that you're used to. Home cooked meals, restaurants, cell phone, internet, none of that stuff. So I got to just be with myself and my thoughts. And that's when I started to kind of go in to who I am as a person and what do I want to do in the world? Like, what are my gifts? And so it was a lot of silence. And that's allowed me to go in.
That's what we need a lot of times. It's like you got to go through the silence to get to the answers a lot of times, but we can't quiet our minds down enough in this world that we live in of hectic and doing and going. So you took off and you didn't know how important this was, but it was a huge piece to silencing your mind and determining your value, your importance.
For sure. I was listening to my intuition without even knowing it. Like I talked about like my gut. I knew in my gut. Well, that was my intuition just like begging me to make the step to like get out of there,
break free.
Yep.
And it's hard to do that. It's like Noah build the ark.
Right.
It's like everybody's looking at you like, Zach, you're crazy, man. What are you doing? You're struggling right now. Why are you going out and doing all this? And you're like,
definitely.
Got to, man. Sorry.
Yep. You gotta go.
Yeah.
point did you come across the shaman?
So I found myself, so that stint up in Humboldt lasted a summer. And then I came down to the Mendocino coast and started to live there. And my uncle has been living there for like 15 years at this time. And when I first came, he started talking about this guy that helped him out in his life through body work and kind of described him as a shaman. And I was still not at the mind space to like fully accept what he was saying. But it was in the back of my mind. And about 2 years after being on the coast of Mendocino, I found myself in front of Fred. He's the shaman guy. He does basically what we call somatic body work. And I didn't even know what I was doing there. I just kind of wrote him an email, told him a little bit about who I am. Like, who am I, man? Like, I'm trying to figure this out. And I don't know. And I went down there for a session, and everything from that moment on has changed. It's like I stepped into like, I don't even know, like another portal. And my life started to unfold in ways that I only dreamed of, and even beyond.
Like, tell us about some of those, how your life has changed since that.
Well, I am basically, I got put into what I like to call like service for humanity. I redefined what I believe as success. You know, growing up in a common, you know, city, you get caught up in things and want to have money and maybe a big house and cars and all this stuff. And that's successful, you know?
Right.
So for me, it allowed me to redefine what success is. And for me, that's how many people can I help in this world. And basically going and doing that inner work allowed me to take my energy, instead of focusing on myself and not being enough and, you know, all the struggles, those are all cleared out. And now I get to take that same energy and go outward into the world.
Right.
And I just so happen to have the same body that is athletic, and I carry myself differently through the world now. I feel lighter, and that's why I'm able to run mountains and keep on going.
Yeah.
How do you plan to help people?
So I started a nonprofit called the Menacing Movement Project, and it's evolved several times. You know, I'd been to India and made some connections there, and I was initially going to do prosthetics in India, and then COVID happened, and that kind of got shelved for the time being. And right now, what my vision is basically making movement more accessible to people of all levels and abilities, not just people with limb loss, but anyone. So there's a lot of people out there that need some assistance.
Oh. Matt,
and for me,
speak to that.
And the more I run, the more I can connect with those people. I basically want to run full time.
Yeah, that is great. And so you got this mentality that is unique among human beings.
Yeah.
And that is, you don't seem to see obstacles.
Yeah, not really. I see solutions.
Right. And that's GOAT. That's what it takes to be the greatest of all time at anything. Whether it's you're a world champion or anything, it's like, if you look at the challenges as opportunities or ways to grow, but so many people struggle with the poor me syndrome and they get stuck in that victim thinking. And it's so easy to do when you're in your position, at least from the outside world, it would be so easy to do. Mm-hmm. And my guess is a lot of people do. A lot of people fall into that victim thinking. And so you not only had to have healthy thinking for you being the athlete and all that, but you have to double that and say, oh my God, I can do anything that anybody else can do, but I'm going to do it better. Do you need to do that anymore?
Not really.
I know. I did that.
Yeah, I mean, the product is better than anything I've ever done before, you know, like the way I run. but I just run pretty free. You know, it's like freedom and being liberated from those thoughts and that mindset, you know, and that alone allows me to cover any kind of terrain, any type of run I want.
I love that.
It's how often are you racing? I know you're training all the time, but how often are you in an actual race?
Well, I've done 3 so far this year, starting in April.
Wow.
And I have a coach, and we actually have a call tomorrow. I'm going to put together my 2022 schedule and see what it looks like for me running full time, like what my body can handle.
Yeah.
How many different events. I also maybe want to do what they call an FKT, which is called the fastest known time. You pick a trail and you go do the fastest known time on that trail. They're going to have an adaptive athlete category.
Oh yeah.
So I might be doing that. I don't know yet. I got 2 more races planned for this year. Lake Sonoma 50 miler in September, and then a Spartan Trail in San Francisco in November. Okay. And maybe the rim to rim and at the Grand Canyon. If I can fit it in between those.
Well, that makes me want to ask Matt a question. One of your goals originally was to have a prosthesis that would withstand you running for 12 hours. You're on it. Now your new goal is to have one that you could run 24 hours or 12 hours first, 24 hours now, nonstop. What kind of challenge is that from a prosthetic standpoint first to be able to do? What kind of componentry, what kind of interface and all of that must he have to be able to run on something for 24 hours nonstop?
Yeah, Zach's definitely giving us unique challenges, I would say, in the least. But the best thing about Zach is his whole mindset. When he was here a couple of weeks ago, it's never about the speed. It's about the quality of the run and being able to complete the run, go as far as we can. And that's what we think about when we design the prosthesis. We want to keep it as lightweight as possible, because it's one thing if someone's just sprinting, yeah, you want it lightweight, you want it strong, but you start going mile after mile after mile, and you just think of what regular marathon runners go through. Zach's running with a 60% increase in energy expenditure requirement, and he's doing it on trails, not on just paved roads,
right,
in a straight line.
And so, I heard 50 miles. Did I hear 50-mile race?
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh my God. Are you kidding me?
Makes me want to just throw up right here.
Right. I'm getting dehydrated a little bit.
No, I got to get a drink right now.
You said 60% more expenditure of energy using that.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Yeah. And then the impact that he puts on that. And Julie was right. Just the amount that he has to hydrate to keep his leg the correct size inside the socket. Because if he starts getting dehydrated, that leg's going to want to come off because the leg's going to get smaller. So he has strong muscles. He can hold it on with his muscles. But there's a lot of things that Zach does that other runners don't even have to think about. I mean, they think about hydration, but it's very important for him. You think about, we weren't meant to run on the bottom of our leg when we're missing half of the leg.
Right.
So all the shear forces on his skin, all the pressures. So that fit of that socket has to be dead on.
Right. And
we don't always know that. He likes to wear through his running blades, or at least the tread on the running blades. So he has a few different blades that he's able to swap out. I know he's been in a race. Zach, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't even know that you made it the full way before you blew out one tread and had to switch to a second foot. So these are all things other runners aren't having to think about.
Oh.
What do you have to do to your residual limb to get it to be able to withstand that? Is there some sort of conditioning that you have to do with it, or just one big callus or something? How do you do that?
It's a process. I've been doing this for 2 years, and I've been just kind of pushing the bar lightly. You know, I don't like ram it in and like go out and run 20 or 40 miles, you know, like we gradually worked up to that, you know, and I have a coach who is a Team USA paratriathlon head coach, and she's worked with other adaptive athletes, so she knows what she's doing. And we communicate a lot, and we make sure that I'm not going to be down. Like, I'm not going to do something that's going to put me down for like weeks, maybe a day, maybe 2 days, you know, and recovery is almost bigger than the actual training, you know, like she has me pretty dialed in to where if I'm down, if I'm going to be down because of something, then I'm not doing it, you know? So my skin has gradually over time gotten stronger. I've learned how to take care of it a little better. And it just seems to happen, you know, I feel like I got a lot of things on my side.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just can't imagine. Oh, we got.
Hey, Matt, why is it so important for you to provide these opportunities for athletes? I mean, this is really cool stuff that you're doing, but you're going to the extremes with Mr. Zack here.
Yeah. You know, I was blessed the day that I fell into this particular field, getting to work with individuals like Zack or just someone simple that just needs to be able to get a leg so that they can stand up. Right. and be able to transfer from a chair. Zack definitely pushes the envelope, and sometimes I want to bang my head against the wall to try and come up with something new or different to make him be able to run a mile further and everything. But you find the joy in everything. You find the joy helping every single patient be able to. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Basically fulfill their goals. And Zack, I remember those early days with Zack. I remember when Zack was running to try and prove something. And you know what? He's proving so much more now versus when it was, hey, I want to sprint. I want to be the best. He's blown way past any goal he could have had back then with what he's doing now. I don't even see a limit. Every time I see him, we redesign the prosthesis, and he's in California. I'm in Kansas City. We don't get to see each other that often. So the time that we get to spend together, we work really hard on the socket design. But I love the text updates. He gets back out there, goes for that first run. He's like, dude, I just went like 2 more miles further than I've ever gone. And I'm like, yay! That's the best thing ever. So that's why we do this.
That is so cool, Matt. And it's kind of like me when I go on the journey of athletes and watch them get to reach their goals. It's why we do this. It's so cool. So, Julie, do you have any more questions? I know we're coming down to a time limit. We still have the GOAT tip, but I know you always have lots of questions.
Well, we'll just finish it with how Zack will measure success. Is there a certain point that you want to get to? You think, oh, I've made it? Or is this just a continual journey, a continual evolution?
I think success for me would be to be helping out people all the time through my nonprofit, you know. That to me, it would be a success. Not how far can I run, but a matter of like how many lives can we impact with running.
Yeah. Oh, that is perfect. And that leads us right to the GOAT tip, Julie.
All right. Let's see. Let me grab it here. All right, there it is.
Zack, this kind of comes from you.
Yeah.
The GOAT tip of the week is learn to enjoy the hills. And you know what? I was a bike rider and would go out. And when I wasn't in shape, I hated riding hills. But when I started getting in better and better shape, I started to love the hills. And you have a similar story that goes along with that, don't you, Zack?
Yeah. I was running with my buddy who's a pro runner for Hoka, and I was struggling on hills big time. And he was in front of me, and I was like, hey, I should probably get better at running these hills, don't you think? And he's like, yeah, you need to learn to love these things. So I basically took that home and went back and started running hills to make myself love it. And now I do like it, because when you get to the top, you get to come down the thing.
Exactly.
So,
I was just going to say, how do you make yourself like that? How is that even possible?
Hill running helps you out so much. The more you run hills, the more easy running becomes.
I know that's what they say, but I just don't buy
Julie.
It's true.
it. Okay.
And it's not only with that, Julie, it's you can learn to love anything.
I know that's what you
I keep preaching that.
You do. You preach that often, and I'm hearing it. I'm hearing it.
And it's a conscious decision that he made.
It is.
It's, you know, I'm going to choose to love these and enjoy these and see them for what the benefit is and the good that can come out of them versus that screwing hell.
I had some help though. I definitely have had some help.
Well, yeah, exactly. We need that, don't we?
Yeah, let me pop up a few of these comments too. We've just
Okay.
had some comments pop in. Here's one from Christine Shaw Palmquist. Is that a friend of yours, Zach?
That's my coach.
Oh, all right. Cool.
Hey, good, Christine.
All right.
All right. And here's one. All right. This one, I know this girl. This is my daughter.
Yay, Reagan.
So she's watching. Yeah, it is an amazing story.
She's one of my favorite fans.
Yeah, she's one of our top fans. Her and Howard, they're always watching. Oh,
You two, I want to thank you so much for being on the show and Zach putting it out there and being vulnerable and talking about the challenges that you had along the way is so inspirational to people. And it's such a good role model for people because I know I look at myself and it's like I use excuses often. Oh, I don't want to go out. Oh, it's too hot out. And then when I see somebody like my buddy Zack that is out running hills with one leg, it's like, dude, what's my excuse? There's no excuse.
no excuse.
So thank you guys for being on the show.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thanks for having me.
All right. And we'll
Yeah.
see everybody next week.
We'll keep track of you guys, and after you win your next one, maybe we'll have you back.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Oh, you don't have to win. It's just
Well, that's true. That's true. I take it
when
back.
you make money for the people that you want to make money
Right.
for.
Further along in your journey, we'll have you
For
back.
sure.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye.
See ya.
See you guys.